All right, this is the November 2nd, 2023 Crossplane community meeting. Recording is started, and let's start going through the agenda items here. As always, I will take the link from the agenda document and drop it into the Zoom meeting chat right now, so folks can add themselves as attendees. You can add some agenda topics that you want to discuss, and we'll get it all merged in there. So by far, the biggest news and event happening in Crossplane world is that the V1.14 release successfully shipped and went out yesterday. So we wrote up a blog post about everything that was in there. And so if you want to get into the details on it, definitely encourage you to do so. But there's no doubt, quantifiably, this was the biggest release we've ever done. There was a lot of commits, a lot of things flowing, and I ended up quite proud of everything that this community and these folks on this call and the greater ecosystem accomplished for this release. So really, really happy with it, and thanks everybody for your efforts and your contributions that were made to make a pretty impactful release. We're not going to dive too deep or too long into all the features, but the major things to call out is that composition functions are now beta, and there's a pretty nice developer experience of like the end-to-end workflow of building a composition function, getting your logic in there, testing it, shipping it, getting it on your cluster, being able to see what's going on. All that stuff is quite nice where we ended up with on that one. So really happy with that. And I think that's going to be pushing the project further than we've been able to go so far. So super excited about that. And then also, I was very happy with how this was the first milestone in which we shipped a major focus on improving the overall developer experience. So I think we are only just starting with this now that we're taking developer experience very seriously. And now we've actually shipped some initial features and tooling and experiences and stuff like that, that we're only accelerating from here, I think. We've got a great release under our belts now, and we've got lots and lots of plans for how to keep making Crossplane easier to use. And we are also very, very ready to listen to more folks about problems and issues you're having with Crossplane, how to make it easier, how to make it better. I know there's lots of folks on this call that have continuously provided that feedback, and it has been super useful, and we'll continue to take more of it. So you will see more tooling and experiences built in the upcoming releases as well. And then also order deletion. I know that Bob, that was the original champion of being able to have reliable cleanup of resources and foreground background deletion, all that sort of stuff. And this has turned into a real feature. Being able to track and model the dependencies of resources and how they use each other and be able to clean up everything well, and garbage collection and all that stuff. So that has come a long way, and that's available also. And then, a whole bunch of other things that are pretty important that, got relegated to, a paragraph below this section here. So a lot went on in the 1.14 release, and just thanks again to everybody for making that happen. So I wanted to, though, open the floor a little bit that, we've got 1.14 out. We, feel pretty good about what we accomplished there. But, I wanted to kind of give space for everybody on this call here to share your thoughts about the entire milestone as a whole. Anything that was we're happy about, or anything that we wanted to improve on. I wanted to open the floor for what are folks' thoughts on 1.14.
It's good.
I can just say quickly, I've started writing Crossplane functions. Those things are so nice and fun to write with the SDK and stuff. So big shout out to, and also the function template and stuff made it really easy in like bootstrapping stuff. So I've been very happy with writing Crossplane functions.
Yeah, right on, Blake. Yeah, thanks for your contributions in that too, and all your feedback and stuff, man. How about from some of the EU folks like Hassan, Ezgi, or EU time zones, let's say. Any thoughts you want to share, and Philippe, any thoughts you guys want to share about how the release went, anything that could have been made more smooth, or anything like that?
Yeah, I think that one thing that we're calling out is like the new process that we introduced in this release, which is like putting a release candidate before the actual release. Even though we, we didn't have too much like gap between the release candidate and the actual release. I think it already helped us to catch a couple of issues which would otherwise we will be fixing today or yesterday, I guess. So I think this is an improvement already, but maybe we can discuss to give like 2 weeks, for example, instead of 1 week, to give the folks a chance to try the release candidate out. That is, I think, one thing. Other than that, I think one improvement that is not, I guess, not mentioned in the blog post or release notes is like we have now end-to-end testing in the repository. Like this is also something we achieved in this release timeline. So right now, when you open a PR in core Crossplane, like we have a good amount of coverage in terms of end-to-end testing, and this really helps to feel much more confident in terms of changes that are touching different places in the code base.
And Hassan, do you feel the same way? Like, do you feel the same way about unit tests still? Because we didn't have this end-to-end coverage and high-level scenario coverage and stuff like that before. And it's a good thing and it's helping us. Do you feel the same way that like unit test level coverage is still good in helping us prevent regressions and stuff like that too?
Yeah, I think so. The both like unit tests and end-to-end tests have different use cases or different kind of issues that each test type could catch. So I feel like having both type of tests are like already good and catching different types of issues already. And I feel like we are in a good shape in terms of both unit test and end-to-end test coverage right now.
Awesome. I was thinking on the release of the RC release candidate process that we did. I think one thing that we could do to improve that, because I thought it was a great idea and it did help catch stuff and it got things in our hands early. And, I did like a whole series of testing and using it and living and breathing it for a little bit, so that was actually quite nice. But I correct me if I'm wrong, Hassan, but I think we just did a single RC build, right? Did we do I think we caught some bugs. We continued merging commits and stuff like that. But did we do a second RC build to kind of get something else in our hands that had those fixes and improvements we were doing?
No, I think this is also related to my previous comments about like the like amount of time that we have between RC and the actual release was just 1 week. And in the meantime, I think fixed like maybe 1 or 2 bugs. And I think in one of the threads, I don't remember where we discussed with Philip, I guess, whether we should create another RC or not. But based on the nature of the fixes that we had, like it wasn't like blocking everyone and it is only happening with a specific Helm version, etc. We decided not to cut another release. So I feel like if we had more time and if we had more critical issues caught, then we could cut more RC releases than one.
Got it. Yeah, that certainly is related, Hassan. I agree with you on that. I felt it acutely because with keeping a very close eye on all of the improvements and features and stuff like that going in, or continuing to get merged. That I wanted to test those or have an official build to test all those as well. So that would have helped me with my testing as having another RC build with the fixes that were going in while we're continuing our testing. But yeah, more time would help with that too. Cool. All right. Other thoughts on 1.14 folks want to share? Okay. Well, then let's turn our sights to the next milestone of 1.15. So this, it was interesting to see and kind of get a bit of a reminder here that the next milestone we are starting our working on, because we do quarterly releases, will not be until next year. It won't be until late January of 2024. So there is not an expected, major release at least of Crossplane for the remainder of the year. And it's a reminder that 2023 is running out of time, but that's great. We're going to take a little time to relax and spend some time with our families and stuff too over the holidays. So it's going to be cool. This release will be fun as well. We did kind of a bit in the middle of updating roadmap and making the plans more solid for going forward. But we did do a bit of that. So let's just bring that up on the screen real quick. And then this is literally our day one in the release, or sorry, in the milestone time period for 115. So I think we're going to spend much time on this today. And I think at the next community meeting, we can focus a little bit more on this. But just high level, the stuff that we do want to focus on is going to be environment configs. So environment config stuff like, getting that to a beta, getting it ready for production usage, all of the features and everything, the feedback that's been going in while that's been in alpha for quite a while. That will be a major focus in 1.15. We, as I mentioned, we're just started the developer experience, significant focus, and that's going to carry momentum into 1.15. And we should be focusing more on the authoring time of when you're building your platform, when you're building your composition, having a richer experience around finding errors, correcting things, autocomplete, all that sort of stuff in 1.15. And then composition functions and management policies, formerly known as observe-only resources. Those ones we just matured to beta in 1.14. But we do want to carry that momentum and get them all the way to GA with final feedback and get those to a place where they're completely stable and it can kind of reduce our work in progress and increase our mature feature count. We also have some time spent on just general project maturity stuff as we're continuing to work towards graduation. That will actually become more of a focus for the project here, which only has benefits of project reliability and maturity and making sure that all our ducks in a row for security and best practices and all that stuff. So that'll be a good investment for the project as well. And Hassan, can you give a quick comment, dude, on package reliability, install upgrades, all that sort of stuff. That is something that we want to focus on in 1.15 as well, and maybe bring to a conclusion. Do you have an idea, dude, about what's left for that? I assume that you've been working on it already, so there's not a ton left with that, but do you have a good scope of what you want to focus on for that?
Yeah, I will be honest here, due to the focus for 1.14, I haven't put enough thought on this, what are left and how can we prioritize them. But the task list given here is contains all the issues that are relevant.
Okay.
And gives a overview of our progress here. One thing that maybe worth mentioning about this ticket is it has a quite broad scope because it's both talking about installing the Crossplane packages as well as installing and uninstalling Crossplane itself. So maybe some of the issues there could have already been resolved with some of the recent improvements we made there. They just need to be validated and reflected to those issues and closed. One outstanding issue I keep remembering is there is I think pain around uninstallation of providers when there are managed resources. I think this will be one of the things that I would like to focus. I already had a draft PR, which was primarily done for handling flakiness in the end-to-end testing. So I will most probably focus on that and run it to the completion, and then I will just go one by one to the list of other issues there.
Nice, Hassan. And I think there may be a few other things to brainstorm, especially with feedback from the community around common issues that people run into with installing and upgrading and such all their packages. But yeah, I think that it's nice that we have that list. It's nice that you've already done some work and made some improvements that could affect or improve some of the existing issues on that task list. But yeah, that's something, it'll be a focus for 1.15 and we can figure out the scope as we go along. Cool. All right. Yeah, we'll focus more on roadmap in the next community meeting as well as we get more momentum going into 1.15. Anything that folks want to bring up though in terms of just reminders about priorities or things that folks want to give feedback on, anything on folks' minds for what they want to see as we're going into 1.15? All right. Well, we are always open for feedback, so feel free to send messages or comments on issues and all that sort of stuff. And we will listen and try to incorporate what we can to make sure that we're going the right direction and we're shipping the right things that, impact the community in a positive way. All right, I will turn it over to Jean, I believe, for providers updates here, because you've got a lot of content in there. Do you want to take this section here, Jean?
Yeah, let me do so. So the first section is just an update on the usual monthly releases we're due for the providers. That it's about bug fixes, bringing in the latest upstream code from Crossplane runtime and dependency bumps and fixing bugs and new resources being configured. The one thing I will just mention is that thanks to Hassan, an issue was fixed in Crossplane runtime. That will see us release patch releases for the providers as well, probably tomorrow already.
And then real quick question about that one.
Yeah.
Is that something that needs in Crossplane runtime? Is that something that needs to be done, that needs to be picked up in core Crossplane as well, as you said, or is it just it's more for providers that need it?
I will let Hassan answer that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, it only affects the providers. Like it fixes a retry in critical annotations updates logic, and I think this is all only consumed by provider managed reconciler.
Okay, cool. Okay, thanks for clarifying that. Sorry for interrupting.
No worries. And then where most of our effort has actually been is in integrating the new provider architecture that we've been working with and shared, kind of like progress in the update provider efficiency SIG. And we're happy to be able to release the first release candidate. We would love folks to try it out and see how it performs for them in our own kind of like limited, specific testing environments. We've seen significant improvements in performance and a lot less utilization of CPU and RAM. And we will, if everything goes well, we will likely go GA the week after KubeCon. We want to allow folks a little bit of time just to try it out and see if give us feedback and for us to continue with further validation testing on our side. And then the plan is to roll out the new architecture to the remaining providers over the next few months. I also, as part of this journey, want to give folks a heads up that we will be releasing a major version change for the providers in the coming months. If everything goes according to plan, by the end of January, we will see this have realized. And one of the major changes that reasons for this is that for both provider AWS and provider Azure, provider GCP, we're still using the underlying Terraform provider that's on version 4. And since they're no longer actively being maintained and new resources and fixes are being added to version 5, we want to move over to those Terraform providers. However, they contain breaking changes, and instead of kind of like just absorbing those changes and releasing a normal version of our provider, we wanted to make sure that we kind of like implement a versioning strategy that is transparent to indicate which version of Terraform provider it's using, and to signal a little bit more clearly also that folks should expect breaking changes if they jump to a major version from whichever one they're running. So over the next few months, we'll be releasing provider AWS v5, Azure v3, and GCP v5. Both AWS and GCP will very likely contain breaking changes because they involve a major version bump on the Terraform provider. Azure is already on the Terraform v3 provider, so it will just be to bring it in line with the rest of the naming policy. I do want to ask folks to have a look at their configurations and make sure that if you have kind of like a depends on specified with a version matching string like bigger than or equal, highly encourage you to make that a little bit more strict, either pin to a specific version or use the carry in front of it to not allow it to install a major version bump without your specific kind of like opting into a new version. So please take note of that. We'll share that in the Slack as well, and also with release notes. But we wanted to start making this a little bit more visible for folks so that you can start changing those things in the run up to us releasing those major version bumps. So yeah, that's it.
And
Would
John,
you
just for
provide
go ahead,
any
Christina.
like upgrade guidance on, like, I mean, besides locking the version, would there be a guide to upgrade it?
Yeah, so I don't want to share too much. We will definitely provide in the release note detailed instructions. What we are also looking at is whether we can use conversion webhooks to do multi-version CRDs. That's something I don't want to commit to just yet, but we're exploring it to see if we can basically limit the impact to end users. And as we kind of like gain a bit of more clarity around the path we want to take and the effort related to it, we'll share more on that. But at a minimum, there will be clear instructions on what are the changes and what you should be doing to accommodate that change as part of the release notes.
And so, Jean, quick question for me, because I'm not super familiar with the syntax here. So it is when you use the caret there, is that saying that, yeah, like, it is not acceptable to, it will not match to have a major version higher than the one I've specified, but would bigger minor versions and patch versions match as well?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. I like that. That sounds then like something we should roll out across all of the configurations and all the packages that we have that people definitely use as examples and in the docs and stuff like that too. So it just becomes the de facto standard for the community.
A follow-up action is to start updating the docs as well as the reference platforms, etc.
Nice. Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense then to just have that be the new normal. Cool. All right. Other questions from folks on providers and upcoming releases and changes there? All right. Let's move on then to the community topics section here. Normally I do a better job of cleaning these up and having titles and stuff like that, but they're just a set of raw URLs right now, so I apologize about that. But there is some cool content as per usual, folks writing about Crossplane related things. Of particular note is on the AWS blog. There is a cool post, and maybe some of the authors are actually on the call here. Yeah, I think I see a couple of you folks particularly like this, and it tells a cool story about how to build a platform with EKS and Crossplane and such, and how it is powering some science research and stuff for cool organizations you might have heard of. And let's see, other things to call out. I think you folks can click through these on their own time and check out everything that's going on though. Last note about KubeCon Chicago, because it's happening next week. So I know a lot of folks will be there in Chicago and looking forward to seeing a lot of you. So final call here about click through this link and check all of the talks that will be referencing referencing Crossplane at KubeCon. and come to the Contrib Fest, come to the maintainer talks. Hopefully Clement is making some progress on the slides for this talk as well this week about his platform journey. How's that going, Clement?
Yeah, making progress, pretty close.
All right. Yep, looking forward to all that stuff. So yeah, lots of cool stuff there, and come stop by the booth. Like lots of opportunities to hang out next week, and looking forward to seeing every one of you all that we can. All right, and Pete, take us to these Crossplane doc stats you shared.
Yeah, just some info from the last 2 quarters that I pulled today for some other reason I thought I'd share. Just some views and statistics from docs.crossplane. I think this is great trends showing we're getting more people using Crossplane, more people looking at the documentation, and more people sticking around. So I think most of these are pretty straightforward. Total users, total views. How many of those were new users who had not been seen before? And then the daily over monthly active is basically the if you clicked once in the month, did you also happen to click, like, basically come back to the docs on a nearly daily basis? And so we're seeing, more people are using the documentation on a nearly daily basis. And I think the other thing to call out is the new users, although it's still 37% of the total users, our total users went up by 14%. So the number of new users is also growing. So good, healthy signs all around.
I would have to imagine that's related to some of the investments you've been making over there in the docs, Pete, but maybe the jury's still out on that one.
I don't know.
You're doing great work,
I
man.
don't
Received
trust
a
that
lot
guy.
of good feedback on it. A lot of good feedback on it. So continue that great work, and we'll all support that in the ways that we can as well. And this is a part, just another pillar in the overall goal of making Crossplane easier to use and understand. Docs is a part of that as well, for sure, and an important part. All right, that's everything we had in the agenda captured in the doc. I didn't see any particular PRs or other deep dive technical stuff get added on there. So I will pause for a sec to see if there's anything that folks wanted to add that did not yet make it into the agenda doc and you want to talk about today. All right. Well, then if that is all that folks wanted to talk about, then we will be looking forward to seeing everybody that we can in Chicago next week. Bring a jacket. I don't think it's going to be particularly warm, and especially if you are a Southern California person, buy a jacket maybe also before you go there. And hopefully we get to hang out next week. But good to see everybody. Bye.
Thank you, bye.